Well, now that we have a multiple question quiz created, let's see what happens if we want to give this quiz to a class with a set of remotes out. I already have my simulator up so that you can see what happens when students are taking this quiz, so that you can see what's on their remotes. I've already signed them in. And at the bottom toolbar, you can go check anonymous mode, which means that they don't have IDs yet. But I do have 6 students signed in on the remotes. You can check in your class how many students you're supposed to have and make sure they're all signed in. So let's find out what's going to happen when we give this quiz to these students. Over on your Smart Response tab again, that little yellow box, my properties, now that I've added multiple questions, I can actually see I have one of each different kind of question. You may have 5 multiple choice questions and 5 true-false, or 2 multiple answers and 3 multiple choice, whatever you have on your multiple question quiz, and it tells you I have a total of 5. On the progress, you can start it on this properties tab. I usually start it on the progress tab. That just helps me keep track of the progress of this quiz. So let's start this assessment. And now you can see on the remotes that my students can see the question set 1, 2. They can actually go down to all the different questions that are there. Obviously, you wouldn't want them to go down and answer the questions until they see the questions. So let's go to the next page. And now they can see the first question. The genetic information in the nucleus is called DNA, and yes or no would be their responses. On the remotes, the first 2 buttons for the answers that they can have say T, F, Y, N. Those are the true, false, yes, no buttons. You might need to point that out to them. So let's let the students answer. And on your Smart Response tab, and by the way, the little green dot means that this assessment is going, it's in progress. So that will be your clue that, yes, you're collecting answers at this point. You can see right now the duration of the entire quiz. You can see that no students have answered. When a student gives an answer and hits enter, you can see that 1 student's answered. So let me answer on my other remotes so that we can see some different answers. And it tells me that all students have answered. So I know that I'm ready to go to the next question. And keeping that up so that I know how many people have answered and how many people are left is just a good indication to me of when I need to move on to the next question. All right, here's a multiple choice question that students can take. What's the center of a cell called? So they can pick the different options there. So they can choose between A, B, C, and D. And now it shows me that all students have answered, so let's go to the next question. How many pairs of chromosomes do humans have? This would be, you can see the bottom of each button you have a number, so they can check, and it will automatically know that they're answering numbers instead of letters, because this is a numerical question that I made. So let's type in the correct answer on this one, and I'll answer on my other remotes. And now all students have answered. I can go to question number 4. Question number 4 is true, false, so they're going to pick between true and false on their remotes. Mitosis is the process of a cell producing energy from food. So let's type in an answer. And we have all students have answered, so let's go to the last question. Which cell parts below are found in both plant and animal cells? Choose all correct answers. So that tells the students that they need to pick more than one out of these answers. So if they want to pick more than one, they simply select whichever ones that they want to choose from. And when they have picked all the ones that they want to choose from, that's when they hit enter on this one. So we're going to answer on all the students, and we can keep track of. And another good thing about keeping track of how many students have answered, if you see that there's one student that hasn't answered and you're pretty sure that all students have given an answer, you might want to have their students check and make sure that they have hit enter and that their little triangle has gone down to the next question. If they haven't hit the enter button, then Smart Response hasn't registered them as having answered that question yet. So that's just another indication when it says that you have students that haven't answered. You might want to make sure that your students have hit the enter button so that it's registered. So it may not be an indication of how long it's taking them. It may just be an indication of they forgot to hit enter. So you can remind them of that. Now that was our last question. All students have answered. On the remote, students now have the option to finish. Before they hit finish, they have the option of going back to a question and changing an answer. So if they wanted to go back to, say, question 4, and Miss Boudreau, can you go back to question number 4? You can go back to question 4 on your board. And that way, if they want to change it, oh, I don't think that's true anymore. I'm going to delete my answer, hit the delete button on the remote, and change it to what you think it is. They have that option of going back and changing it, which is really nice since we as teachers do try to tell our students go back and check your work. So you can always ask them if they want to go back to any questions. You can go through the questions one more time and tell them to check on their remotes, check their answers. But once they have finished, they can use their arrow button to go back down to finish if they're not there. They hit enter, and now it says that they have submitted their answers. Their answers are in the system. They cannot change them anymore. But you notice that they're not getting any feedback on their answers yet because your question, your quiz is still going. You still have that little green dot. In order to give feedback, you want to stop the assessment. And we're going to look at looking at the results of this on the next tutorial, but you can now see that this student got 100%. It's a good thing they went back and changed that question. And they can look on their remotes and go back and see on their remotes which questions they got right, which questions they got wrong, and what their grade is. So we're going to take a look at looking at your answers, your results from this quiz on the next tutorial. So congratulations on giving a quiz. When you are ready, come back and we can look at some results.